हेलो एवरीवन। आज हम पढ़ेंगे क्लास 9th हिस्ट्री का चैप्टर नंबर 2 सोशलिज्म इन यूरोप एंड रशियन रेवोल्यूशन। इस वीडियो में हम क्वेश्चन आंसर्स को पढ़ेंगे। तो चलिए स्टार्ट करते हैं वेरी शॉर्ट आंसर्स से। क्वेश्चन नंबर 1, वन ऑफ द ग्रुप्स विच लाइक टू चेंज द सोसाइटी। आंसर, लिबरल्स। नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन, इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन ब्रॉट मैन, women एंड चिल्ड्रन टू। आंसर, फैक्ट्रीज। नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन, who was Giuseppe Mazzini? Answer, he was an Italian nationalist. Next question, Marx argued that industrial society was the answer, capitalist. Next question, workers in England and Germany began to form associations to fight for answer, better living and working conditions. Next question, Socialists took over the government in Russia through the answer, October Revolution of 1917. Next question, Tsar Nicholas II ruled Russia and its empire in answer, 1914. Next question, government supervised large factories to ensure the answer, minimum wages and limited hours of work. Next question, all political parties were illegal in answer, Russia before 1914. Next question, what was the new name given to the Bolshevik Party? Answer, Russian Communist Party. Next question, the Russian Social Democratic Workers' Party was founded in answer, 1898 by socialist. Next question, in Russia the war was initially popular and people rallied around answer, Tsar Nicholas II. Next question, the government tried to control the demonstrators and called out the answer, cavalry. Next question, Petrograd had led the February Revolution that brought down the answer, monarch in February 1917. Next question, on 2nd March, Soviet leaders and Duma leaders formed a answer, provincial government to run the country. Next question, what type of a nation did liberals want? Answer, liberals wanted a nation which tolerated all religions. Next question, the political party formed in mid 1920 in India by the inspiration of Russian Revolution was the answer, Communist Party. Next question, the government suspended the Duma on answer, 25th February. Next question, mention the most significant result of the February Revolution. Answer, the abdication of Tsar Nicholas II. Next question, explain the significance of the Russian Revolution. Answer, the major significance of the Russian Revolution was the establishment of a socialist state. Next question, what does the term conservative mean? Answer, the conservatives believed in respect for the past and change through a gradual process. Next question, list the names of two workers' association. Answer, Labour Party in Britain, Socialist Party in France. Next question, name the international body formed to coordinate socialist efforts. Answer, the second international body was formed in 1870 to coordinate socialist efforts throughout Europe. Next question, who were socialists? Answer, socialists were those people who were against private property and saw it as the root of all social ills of the time. Next question, who was the ruler of Russia during the October Revolution? Answer, Kerensky was the ruler of Russia during the October Revolution. Short answers. Question number 1. Why did Kerensky's government become unpopular in Russia? Answer. The Kerensky's government became unpopular in Russia because his failure to feel the pulse of the nation. He tried to suppress the workers' movement and the Bolshevik influence. People wanted peace, but he tried to continue the war. The non Russian nationals failed to get an equal status under his government. Next question. Which event in Russian history is known as Bloody Sunday? Answer. On 9th January 1905, a mass of peaceful workers with their wives and children was fired at St. Petersburg while on its way to the Winter Palace to present a petition to the Tsar. More than 100 workers were killed and about 300 were wounded. The incident, known as Bloody Sunday in history of Russia, as the massacre had taken place on Sunday. Next question. What were the immediate consequences of the Russian Revolution? Answer. The immediate consequences of the Russian Revolution were most industries and banks were nationalized in November 1917. This meant the government took over the ownership and management. Land was declared social property. In cities, Bolshevik enforced the partition of large houses according to family requirements. They banned the use of old title of aristocracy. Next question. What was the basic principle of Marxist theory? Answer. The basic principle of Marxist theory were Marx believed that the conditions of worker could not improve if profit was accumulated by private capitalists. Workers had to overthrow capitalism and the rule of private property. Workers must construct a radically socialist society where all property was socially controlled. This would be a communalist society, and a communist party was the natural society of the future. Next question. How did the Bolshevik Party contribute to the Russian Revolution of October 1917? Answer. The Bolshevik Party put forward clear policies to end the war, transferred the land to the peasant, and advanced the slogan All Power to the Soviets. On the question of non Russian nationalists, Bolshevik were the only party with a clear policy. Lenin had proclaimed the right of all people to self determination, including those under the Russian Empire. Next question. Describe reforms introduced by Russian Tsar Nicholas II after the revolution. Severe restrictions were placed on Kerensky's political activity. Answer. After 1905, most committees and unions worked unofficially since they were declared illegal. Several restrictions were placed on Kerensky's political activity. Power to make laws was conferred upon an elected body called the Duma. He changed the voting laws and packed the Third Duma with conservative politicians. Liberals and revolutionaries were kept out. Next question. State any three events after the Bloody Sunday which led the revolution of 1905 in Russia. Answer. Three events after the Bloody Sunday which led to the revolution of 1905 in Russia were the news provoked unprecedented disturbances throughout Russia. A strike took place all over the country. The universities of Russia were closed. when student bodies staged walked out, complaining about the lack of civil liberties, lawyers, doctors, engineers, middle class workers established union of unions and demanded a constituent assembly. Next question. Explain the main demands of April thesis. Answer. In April 1917, the Bolshevik leader Vladimir Lenin returned to Russia from the exile. He and the Bolshevik had opposed the war since 1914. Now he felt it was time for Soviets to take over power. He put three demands which were known as Lenin's April thesis. The three demands were: he declared that the war to be ended, land to be transformed to the peasants, the banks to be nationalized. Next question. Discuss the positive aspects of the Bolshevik government on Soviet Union and its people. Answer. The positive aspects of the Bolshevik government on Soviet Union and its people were: immediately after coming the power, Lenin announced his decision to withdraw from the First World War. Private property in the means of production was abolished. Economic exploitation by capitalists and landlords came to be an end. The control of industries was given to workers. All the banks, industries, and mines, water transport, and railways were nationalized. Next question. How did the 1905 revolution in Russia prove to be a dress rehearsal of October 1917 revolution? Explain. Answer. 1904 and 1905 there was war between Russia and Japan. In this war, Russia was defeated by Japan. The Russian people began to oppose the Tsar. They believed that the only cause of this defeat was the government of Tsar, which had failed to carry out war properly. A procession of thousands of peaceful workers, along with their wives and children, went to the place of Tsar to show their anger and present a petition on Sunday, 9 January 1905. While the workers were on the way of the Winter Palace of Tsar, they were fired at by the army of the Tsar. More than 100 people were killed and about 300 were wounded. Next question. What were the significant changes in the Soviet Union after the death of Lenin? Answer. In 1925, Stalin became General Secretary of the Communist Party of Soviet Union after the death of Lenin. The following were the significant changes in the Soviet Union after the death of Lenin. The economic and military power of the Soviet Union was enhanced rapidly. The unemployment and economic backwardness was controlled to some extent. The international position of the Soviet Union became much better than the previous time, and it became one of the superpowers of the world. Next question. How was the bad condition of women responsible for Russian Revolution? Answer. The bad condition of women responsible for Russian Revolution because most of the women were working in small factories. Women made up about 31% of factory labor force by 1914. They were paid less wages and were forced to work for long hours. When they launched an agitation, they were fired by the police. Next question. Why were socialists against private property and saw it as the root of all socialism? Answer. The people was propagated socialism said that individuals who owned property did provide employment to many people, but they were concerned with personal gains only. They did not bother about the welfare of the people. They felt that if society controlled property, more attention would be paid to collective social interest. Socialists wanted this change and campaigned for it. Next question. Differentiate between the ideas of the liberals and radicals in Europe. Answer. The liberals did not believe in universal franchise. In contrast, radicals wanted a nation in which government was based on most of a country's population. Liberals felt men of prosperity mainly should have the vote. They did not want the vote for women. On the other hand, the radicals supported women's suffragette movement and opposed the privileges of great landowners and wealthy factory owners. Radicals were not against the extensive of private property but disliked concentration of property in the hands of a few. Next question. Which basic principles, ideas and values had the Russian Revolution for rest of the world? Answer. The basic principles, ideas and values had the Russian Revolution for rest of the world: economic equality, social equality, socialism, anti-capitalism, international fraternity of all the peasants, craftsmen and workers. Long answers. Question number 1. Describe the circumstances which were responsible for the Russian Revolution. Answer. The circumstances which were responsible for the Russian Revolution as given below. The Russian peasantry was in a miserable condition. The farmers could not get an even 2 square meals a day. Their land holdings were very small and they had to pay heavy taxes. The Russian as well as the foreign capitalist industrialists exploited the workers by taking 12 to 14 hours of work and paying very low wages to them. The workers had no right to form trade unions or seek reforms. They led a miserable life. That is, our Nicholas II was a despotic and autocratic ruler. He enjoyed unlimited powers and rights. The people of the higher strata enjoyed great privileges. The bureaucracy was corrupt and inefficient. The common people was suffered most, were fed up with the absolute rule of the Tsar and wanted to get rid of him. Karl Marx propagated scientific socialism. He strongly opposed capitalism, which meant untold exploitation of the common man. Next question. Explain in brief Lenin's contribution to the Russian Revolution of 1917. Answer. Lenin had played an important part in the Russian Revolution of 1917. It is true that after the fall of Tsar, Lenin led the revolutionaries. Really, it was the beginning of the revolution. The provisional government under the leadership of Kerensky could not implement the demand of the people and failed. Under Lenin's leadership, the Bolshevik Party put forward clear policies to end the war, transfer the land to the peasants, and advance the slogan "All power of the Soviets." He had described the Russian Empire as a prison of nation and had declared that no genuine democracy could be established unless all the non-Russian people were given equal rights. Next question. What were the main objectives of Russian revolutionaries? Answer. The main objectives of the Russian revolutionaries were that Tsar had thrown Russia into the First World War to fulfill his imperialistic desires. It was the demand of the revolutionaries that Russia should withdraw from the war, so it withdrew from the First World War in 1917 after the revolution. After the revolution, the land was given to the tillers, the landlords had to give the land to the government. Kolkhos and sovkhos farms were established. In kolkhos farms, the peasants were collectively. The revolutionaries had demanded an improvement in the conditions of the industrial workers. They demanded better wages, good working conditions, and removal of exploitation. After 1917, the industries were nationalized and the dream of workers was fulfilled. The next aim of the revolutionaries was that the non Russians should be given equal status. Lenin believed that without this status, these people could never become real Russians. Next question: how Lenin's name became inseparable from the Russian Revolution? Answer: Lenin's name became inseparable from the Russian Revolution. After completing his education, he joined the Communist Revolutionary Party and started spreading revolutionary ideas among the workers. He favored the workers. He also favored the setting up of the new society based on the principles of socialism of Karl Marx. He set up an communist government in place of the despotic rule in Russia. Therefore, Lenin's name became inseparable from the Russian Revolution. Lenin united the peasant and workers under the Bolshevik Party and directed the revolution against the provisional government. Efforts were made to set up a socialist government on the basis of principles of Karl Marx. The private property was confiscated. Lenin took the land from the landlords and distributed it among the peasants. The government nationalized all the factories and handed over their management to the workers. All debts were remitted. The property of the church was also confiscated. Next question: what was the impact of the Russian Revolution on Russia? Answer: the impact of the Russian Revolution on Russia were: the revolution put an end to autocratic monarchy in Russia. The Tsarist Empire was transformed into a new state known as the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics or the Soviet Union. The most important result of the Bolshevik Revolution was the establishment of a socialist government in Russia. All the means of production were brought under state control. Banks, mines, factories, railways, telephones, etc. all were declared as government property, and the property of the church was nationalized. Work became an essential requirement for every person. The non working person was not entitled to vote. The condition of the Russian mass had become miserable due to the First World War. The prime need of the Russian mass was food, not expansion. As a result of the Bolshevik Revolution, the government took all the means of production under its control and nationalized all small and big industries. Hence, within a few years, Russia emerged as a powerful industrial state. With the growth of industrial and agriculture production, poverty started disappearing and the country moved on to the path of prosperity. Next question: what was the global impact of the Russian Revolution? Answer: the global impact of the Russian Revolution were: the Bolshevik Revolution helped in the spread of socialist and communist ideas all over the world. Communist governments were established in many European countries. Most of the Bolshevik leaders believed that a series of revolutions will sweep other countries of the world along with revolution in Russia. Many non-Russians from outside the USSR participated in the Conference of the People of the East and the Bolshevik founded Comintern and International Union of Pro-Bolshevik Socialist Parties. The Bolshevik government granted freedom to all its colonies immediately after coming to power. Thus, the new socialist state came forward as a friend of the subjugated people and proved to be a source of great inspiration to the freedom movements of various Asian and African countries. By the end of the 20th century, the international reputation of USSR as a socialist country had declined, though it was recognized that socialist ideals still enjoyed respect among its people. Next question: how did Russia's participation in the World War cause the fall of the Tsar? Answer: the war was initially popular and people rallied around Tsar Nicholas II. As the war continued, support became thin and Tsar's popularity declined. Anti-German sentiments became high. The Tsarina Alexandra's German origin and poor advisors, especially a monk called Rasputin, made the autocracy unpopular. Defeats were shocking and demoralizing. Russia's armies lost badly in Germany and Austria between 1914 and 1916. There were over 7 million casualties by 1917. The destruction of crops and buildings led to over 3 million refugees in Russia. The situation discredited the government, and the Tsar soldiers did not wish to fight such a war. Next question: explain the main effects of the First World War on the industries in Russia. Answer: effects of the First World War on the industries in Russia were: Russian industries were very few and the country was cut off from other suppliers of industrial goods by German control of the Baltic Sea. Industrial equipment disintegrated more rapidly in Russia than elsewhere in Europe. By 1916, railway lines began to break down. Able-bodied men were called up to the war. As a result, there were labor shortages and small workshops producing essential commodities were shut down. Large supplies of grain were sent to feed the army. For the people in the cities, bread and flour became scarce. By the winter of 1916, riots at bread shops were common. इसी के साथ ही हमारा ये वीडियो कंप्लीट होता है. हमारे चैनल को सब्सक्राइब करें, कमेंट करके हमें ज़रूर बताएं आपका ये वीडियो कैसा लगा. वीडियो को लाइक करना, शेयर करना, सब्सक्राइब करना ना भूलें. धन्यवाद.